Let's continue our discussion of Ross Douthat's book, Believe. Why Everyone Should Be Religious. Today is the fifth part of our interpretation. After the earlier discussions, if you believe that the orderliness of the universe points to its divine creation, if you believe that human consciousness is far superior to that of all other animals, giving us a transcendent capacity, and if you believe that various supernatural phenomena indicate the presence of spiritual forces, then Douthat recommends that you join an organized religion. But you might ask, even if I believe in God, do I really need to join a church? Can't I just practice on my own? Douthat argues that joining a religion is better than practicing alone. That joining an established, orthodox religion is better than following fringe cults. And that if you are undecided, he suggests Christianity. Doesn't this sound like a missionary pitch? Perhaps. But not entirely. Douthat is, in a sense, making the most modest possible appeal for religious belief. His argument may even offend adherents of all religions, which, to me, makes it all the more commendable. If you acknowledge the existence of a spiritual dimension, then you are essentially acknowledging that the universe has meaning. And if the universe is meaningful, then human behavior cannot be arbitrary. We should pursue that meaning with urgency. Perhaps ordinary secular life is a waste of time, and instead we should immediately commit ourselves to the path of truth. For that, one needs commitment and a concrete investment of effort. In this light, Douthat believes one should join an organized religion. He gives 3 reasons. First, you are probably not a religious genius. The great traditions have developed mature methods of practice over centuries. To reject these and insist on figuring it out alone is to lower your odds of success drastically. Second, joining a community gives you companionship, mentors, and mutual support. Alone you may falter, but together you can go much further. Third, and more mystical, is the idea that going it alone could be dangerous. The spiritual realm may contain both benevolent and malevolent forces. What if, in your solitary explorations, you encounter demons? A religious community, he says, can protect you. But then comes the question. With so many religions in the world, often in conflict with one another, which one should you join? Here Douthat shows surprising openness. He says, join whichever tradition you feel drawn to. Any starting point is valid. He believes that the differences between religions are not as stark as they seem. Mainstream religions share many common elements. They all stress peace, love, and understanding. They all insist on basic moral duties. They all involve forms of practice and discipline. They tend toward asceticism. They oppose evil forces. And they often feature concepts like hell to warn against wrongdoing. Of course, there are also serious disagreements. Douthat identifies 3 major ones. The first is monotheism versus polytheism. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are monotheistic, with Islam strongly rejecting polytheism. Hinduism and Buddhism, depending on interpretation, may be polytheistic. Or in Buddhism's case, atheistic. So, is the world ruled by one God or many? Douthat notes that, even monotheistic religions don't wholly exclude multiplicity. For instance, Catholicism venerates saints. Believers often pray not directly to God, but to saints who intercede. Meanwhile, polytheistic religions also have order and hierarchy. The gods function like local officials under a higher cosmic authority. In his view, if you accept that the world was created, you are in some sense a monotheist, since the creator must be supreme. A Buddhist might counter that, there are countless universes, each with its own creator, implying polytheism. Still, Douthat finds parallels. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Buddha is given 3 forms: worldly, celestial, and transcendent, which resemble Christianity's Trinity. Perhaps, he suggests, Mahayana Buddhism could be seen as a multiverse version of monotheism. These interpretations are generous. But they also contradict the essence of most religions, since every religion insists it alone is true. Douthat's approach, then, is essentially to redefine religion itself, turning it into something more like an educational institution than an exclusive creed. The second major difference among religions is the degree to which they affirm supernatural phenomena. Based on this, Douthat divides religions into 3 types. 1. Ethical religions, which downplay supernatural claims and focus instead on moral cultivation. Examples include Reformed Protestantism, which avoids mystical practices, or the modernized Buddhism described in Robert Wright's Why Buddhism is True, which treats meditation as psychological training. 2. Experiential religions, which actively pursue supernatural experiences, even miracles or magical practices. Pentecostalism within Christianity is a prime example, emphasizing healing, prophecy, and spiritual power. 3. Liturgical religions, which accept the possibility of the supernatural but do not pursue it directly. Instead, they emphasize formal rituals. Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Tibetan Buddhism fall into this category. The third difference concerns the afterlife. Hinduism and Buddhism envision endless cycles of reincarnation, while Christianity teaches only two eternal destinations: heaven or hell. But again, Douthat minimizes the difference. He argues that endless reincarnation, filled with suffering, is not unlike eternal hell. And while Christianity traditionally teaches that souls in hell cannot escape, some interpretations of Scripture suggest that salvation remains possible if one accepts God. Douthat retreats again and again, with no concern for doctrinal purity. And yet I find this approach quite reasonable. Perhaps the world's religions are emphasizing different aspects of the same underlying truth, traveling by different paths toward the same destination. Christian teachings on heaven and hell may have been a simplified framework suited to ancient audiences, while Buddhism, emerging in India, offered a more complex metaphysical system for a philosophically inclined culture. Different languages, perhaps, for the same truth. Of course, for Orthodox believers, such claims are heresy. Even with these conciliatory moves, doubts remain. Douthat addresses three common critiques of organized religion, and again, he concedes ground. The first is the problem of evil. If God is all good and all-powerful, why does evil and suffering exist? Theologians usually respond that human moral categories cannot be applied to God, who operates at a higher level. But this explanation seems unsatisfying, and contradictory to the claim that humans are made in God's image. If good and evil are unknowable, why should God expect humans to behave morally at all? So Douthat softens the claim. Perhaps God is perfectly good, but not fully omnipotent. Maybe the universe is not flawless, and thus contains demons and suffering. Still, he insists, one should side with the forces of good. This, admittedly, sounds like a civics lecture more than theology. He also argues that those who endure suffering and death are often more religious than the healthy and secure. Proof, he suggests, that suffering does not destroy faith. Yet this is arguably a psychological phenomenon. The more uncertainty people face, the more they long for divine rescue. Douthat here confuses the need for God with trust in God. The second critique is that religious institutions themselves have committed great evils. Douthat's reply: religions are organizations, and all organizations can be corrupt. Governments also commit atrocities, yet no one argues we should abolish government altogether. Critics say religion has caused many wars. Douthat cites research. Of 1,763 wars listed in the Encyclopedia of Wars, only 121 were primarily religious. Of the 100 worst atrocities in human history, only 11 were directly caused by religion. By contrast, religions have also contributed to human progress. International law was shaped by Catholic and Protestant thinkers, the abolition of slavery was championed by Quakers and evangelicals, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written by a Catholic. Figures like Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., who advanced justice and peace, were also religious leaders. The third critique is religion's fixation on sexuality. Its prohibitions against premarital sex, divorce, homosexuality, or even non-procreative sex. Here Douthat concedes immediately. These prohibitions are not essential, and religions today are already softening their positions. I welcome these concessions. If major religious institutions could adopt this spirit of compromise, modernization would accelerate dramatically. I imagine a harmonious scenario. Religions could see themselves as charities, communities, and educational institutions. Like universities with different pedagogical traditions. Each has its own methods and even its own language, but all admit to teaching the same fundamental pursuit, truth. One could choose a moralistic path, a mystical path, or a ritualistic path. One could debate doctrines, attend across traditions, transfer allegiance, or critique corruption. Doctrines would serve as guidelines rather than absolutes. If you are drawn to Buddhism, pursue Buddhism. If to Christianity, join Christianity. Missionaries and monks should be able to exchange views and strive toward some shared understanding of the universe's truth. Religions should not cling rigidly to tradition or scripture. Texts should evolve with the times. Revelations can be revised. Rituals reformed, rules renegotiated. Most importantly, religions should embrace science and adapt their worldviews to new discoveries in physics and beyond. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And yet, even if religions achieved all this, one fundamental question would remain. Does the value of religion lie in blessing people, or in empowering them? If it is about blessing, then prayer and waiting for divine grace suffice. But if it is about empowerment, then strict discipline and clear, practicable methods are required. This may be the deepest divide. Not just between religions, but within them. Ordinary believers usually seek blessings. Safety, health, wealth. Advanced practitioners seek empowerment. Breakthroughs of the spirit, even enlightenment. Blessing attracts donations, empowerment elevates the institution's prestige. But the two are based on opposing assumptions. Is human transformation a divine gift, or the result of personal effort? If God is a being, he bestows it. If God is a principle, then we must achieve it ourselves. This reflects two value systems. And two worldviews. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.